Okay. Hi, Mike. How are you?
Fine. How are you doing?
I'm fine. I'm really happy to get a chance to talk to you for Popular Science Turkey Journal, especially in this historic moment. USA will send astronauts back again from the US soil since 2011, but right now on a commercial rocket. So the first attempt was postponed, but hopefully we will see a great launch on Saturday. So before I ask you my questions about your experience in space, I'm wondering what your opinion is about the commercial human transport to space. Is that really viable, or do you think government involvement is always necessary?
No, I think it's. I mean, we're getting proof that it's viable right now. There's other companies as well, Virgin Galactic, Blue Origin, that are involved with that as well. And I think we're at a time now where commercial companies are able to do it. SpaceX was helped by NASA, by the United States government. They had a contract with the U.S. government for the commercial crew, as does Boeing, and hopefully we'll see Boeing get to the launch pad with astronauts fairly soon here, and be not too much longer down the road. So yeah, no, absolutely. I think that they've proved themselves to be very credible, and the timing is right. We're ready.
So currently, yeah, there's support from the government, but you mean later on, these companies do not need any support anymore from the governments?
Well, I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I mean, they've gotten some help from the government. It's been more of a partnership than what we've had before. But I mean, I don't know. You got to ask them. I think that they're very credible. I think they're going to be launching people, and I sure hope that they're successful. They are able. They handle all the operations of building into the spacecraft, launching, and all that independent. So right now they're being paid by the government to do it, but I think after this, once we get this test flight done, hopefully successfully, there's going to be another group of astronauts going to the space station on more of an operational mission as opposed to a test mission. And then after that, I think the door is open for actual paying customers, private companies and so on. But it kind of depends also where they're going. If they're going to the space station, which is run by NASA right now, and our international partners, then there's always going to be some sort of, I think for a while it's still going to be somewhat of a cooperative effort, but I think eventually they'll be.
Yeah, indeed, that's my hope as well. I mean, hopefully these companies will grow bigger and bigger so that a lot of people will go to space.
We'll get a lot of companies in there. I mean, so far we have SpaceX and Boeing, and hopefully we'll get many more that are able to do this, and it can be almost like the commercial airline industry where you have lots of competitors from around the world.
Exactly. So I have another question. I mean, we know the capsule for human space transportation is really small for many people. For example, the Orion capsule will take 2 to 6 people. So in terms of psychology, how hard for you to travel at least like 6 to 8 months to Mars in a very isolated environment, like with say like another 3 people? So I mean, it would be very hard for me, especially in this current, coronavirus quarantine times. Right now, I'm thinking maybe this kind of travel is not for me anymore. So how do the astronauts be prepared for this kind of psychology?
You talking about coronavirus? You're talking about
no. I mean the isolation environment. You know, you're alone for 6 months.
Yeah, it's not going to be. And I think so the size of the spacecraft is also sort of aligned with the time of the inside of it. So the SpaceX vehicle isn't all that large, but it's used to get you to the space station, which is very large.
Yeah.
So the crew that hopefully will launch on Saturday, they'll only spend about 24 hours inside of the SpaceX vehicle, and in future flights it might be a lot less than that. But so it's only like being in a taxi cab to go somewhere, and then where you go, you end up. So to go to the moon, you're going to need a little more room, and to go to Mars, you're going to even need a little more room. So I would imagine that if we end up sending to go to Mars, it looks like it's the one that's going to go to the moon is the plan right now. And if it's also the one that's going to go to Mars, I think you're going to need a little more living area.
Yeah, I mean, for the International Space Station, yeah, it just takes like a very short time, like shorter than a day. But yeah, for Mars missions, like 6 months.
Need more room.
Yes.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to get away with it. You just need more. You're going to need more space inside of the spaceship.
But the Orion capsule or the Dragon Crew capsule is still like the size of, I mean, the size of this, you know, even in the room, right?
Yeah, I know, but you'll probably have something else. Like when we went to the moon, for example,
Yeah.
there was a command module, and they were able to dock to the lunar module, and there was some living area underneath the seats. So, and then he left the lunar module. They were only there for a little bit of time, a day and a half or so in that small space, right? So I think for Orion to go to Mars, I mean, I really don't know what the plan is. I don't know if they have all the, but I think you're probably going to have a service module with it that you would take to Mars. I can't imagine you're going to have 7 people stuck inside of a small area going. That may be your command module, that may be what you land in, but I think you're going to need something else on the way there. Although I don't know. I don't know what the latest is on it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it is incredible to keep the psychology of these people, you know, intact. You know, it's hard.
Yeah, you're right.
So when do you think the human's journey to Mars possible then?
I don't know. I mean,
Me too. I'm the same.
I think we're going to go. If you look, you see what patch I'm wearing. Okay, so this is my my astronaut patch from 1996 when I became an astronaut. You can see all the different flags of the countries, including the United States. But there's 8 different countries represented in my astronaut class. And this is where we thought we were going to go. Okay, we were on Earth. Do we go there? You can see there's a space station and a space shuttle, which we don't fly anymore, the shuttle. The space station is there. We also have the moon, and we have Mars.
Oh.
So 24 years ago, when I became an astronaut, we thought one of us was going to go to Mars. So and that's not happening. A couple of my guys in my class, a few of them are still active. Soichi Noguchi, my Japanese classmate, is going to go up on the next launch of the SpaceX vehicle. So some of us are still flying in space with the program, but I don't think any of us are going to get to Mars. So it's been decades that we've been trying to get there, and I don't know. Mars is really hard. So I think that our next stop after we get this access to the space station confirmed with SpaceX and Boeing and whoever else is to what the project that they're working on. They have Orion, as you mentioned. They have a very large space rocket booster, the Space Launch System, and then it's the moon that NASA and our partners around the world will be going to next. I think, and Elon Musk may have plans to go right to Mars. And I don't, anything he says, I don't question it. I think he's got a lot of credibility. So, but I still think it's going to be probably going to be a while before we can get people there. I mean, we saw yesterday with the launch delay, it's hard enough to get people off the ground and go low Earth orbit. It's very challenging to get people off the planet to go even further. So, I don't know. I mean, I hope we're on the moon in the next 5 years, and I hope we're on Mars with people on Mars in the next 15. I think that's possible.
Yeah, Elon Musk has a constraint. I mean, he wants to see the colony on Mars before he dies. So.
Oh well.
This is our constraint.
Yeah, I don't want him to die. I want him to, but it'll be great if he gets us to Mars. Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, even von Braun has a book, from his era. He wanted to go to Mars at that time.
Oh, yeah, that's the goal for a long time. It's a very interesting place. We can learn an awful lot by exploring it with people. We've learned a lot with the rovers, but the rovers only can go a little. You get a person out there and they can really do some exploring. So we've learned an awful lot by getting people on Mars about the formation of the solar system, how we got here, why our planet thrives and Mars does not. Was there any life ever on Mars? Does any sort of evidence of life exist there underneath the surface? It's most likely underneath the surface. So there's some really interesting questions that can be answered, and it's within our grasp. With the rocket technology we have, we could get there. It's going to, as you mentioned, it's about six months or so at least to get there, and the whole voyage, start to finish, is going to be years to get to do that. But that's just the way it is right now. Hopefully, we'll get some breakthrough with rocket technology. But it's been within our grasp. We just haven't been able to get there. It's a tough place to go to. You're very far away. when we have a problem in space station or on the Hubble where I flew on the shuttle, you ask for help, you got it within seconds. When you're on the moon, it's gonna, it was like about 3 seconds or so that you get an answer. On Mars, it's 20 to 30 minutes. So you're really going to need to be independent, have to deal with emergencies independently. It's much different than what we're dealing with the space station and what we will be dealing with the moon.
Yeah, exactly.
To try to get there. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's going to be much harder than. So I have another question about kind of your.
I mean, we will get there.
Yeah, I mean, eventually. Eventually.
I mean, I think there's never been a doubt that we'll get there. It's just how and when.
Yeah, eventually we'll get there, but it's gonna take time, I guess. I hope it won't take time much longer than it is right now. So I have
the next 20 years or so. That'd be great.
Yeah. My other question is about your experience. Behavioral performance scientist Dr. Tom Phillips from Johnson Space Center says, so after the astronauts come back from space, they have an increased sense of universalism. They have an expanded view of the world. So did you notice a change of views in yourself when you come back?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I did. It changed the way I think about things and the way I perceive our home. Especially when I was out on my spacewalks at Hubble. Hubble's higher than the space station by about 100 miles. So we see the curvature of the planet, and you see it in its entirety. It takes up your field of view, but it's amazing. And I think we're living in a complete paradise. That's how beautiful our planet is. And I also think that I got this sense of, I think when I think of home, I think I'm talking to you from New York. That's where I live. New York City. I lived in Texas for a while when I was an astronaut and other places. And I guess I've kind of considered myself from New York, and also my home in America. I've got the American flag on my arm, right? So I'm from the United States. But after flying in space, I think of myself more as a citizen of the Earth.
Of the world, yeah.
And that we're all, no matter where we're from. Where are you? You're in Turkey right now? Is that where you are?
I'm in Los Angeles, but I'm from Turkey. Yeah, I'm from Turkey. Yeah.
Okay, so where are you from? That's funny. All right, so wherever you're from, we all share the planet, and so absolutely, that's the takeaway that I had from getting the chance to fly, particularly getting the spacewalk and seeing the whole planet.
That's incredible. Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, I wish to have this opportunity to be given to everybody in the world.
I hope so too. I hope we get a chance to see it. I wouldn't mind seeing it again, but I've seen it a bunch, so someone else should get to see it.
Great. Okay, I'll take your chance next time. So I have some short questions.
Well, I have to train a lot. I mean, I worked. I didn't just look around. So
of course. Of course. I have questions about that as well. So I have some short questions that I got from students. This can be answered very shortly. I mean, have you seen any nightmares or dreams in space? Are they any different that you see on Earth?
I don't remember my dreams very well, and I didn't take notes on my dreams. But I think the little bit that I do remember, I mainly was dreaming about what we had done, what I had seen, the views of the planet. I think those stayed in my mind as I was sleeping. And on Earth, I dream about going to space every night. So.
After you come back or before?
What's that?
After you come back or before you leave the Earth?
My recurring dream is that I'm going back.
Going back?
Yeah, we're going back. I've got one more mission. I'm going there to space again, one more mission. I think every astronaut leaves the astronaut office with at least one more mission they want to do. I don't think you ever have enough. And so no matter how many you have, I think you still want one more. And I think that's a good thing.
I see. So it's like a funny question. Was there anything at the time of the rocket launch and you sit on the rocket and then you realized you forgot to do something? It's like you left the house, you take the car, half an hour later, you realize you forgot to close the backyard door, something like that. So did you notice when you're sitting in there and then...
No, the closest, you kind of focus on that. And when you go on a launch, you try to take care of everything. Make sure the cars are in working order, that the house is okay, that you know, the bills are paid and so on. You want to go there with a clear mind. The closest thing I had is about a month before the launch on a practice launch attempt. I was on the launch pad getting ready to practice. We were going to go in the space shuttle, and I got a phone call. There's a phone on the launch pad, and that launch pad, that phone is still there. I checked with my friends.
I saw the toilet and the phone. Yeah.
I got a phone call that my kids had their science projects were due in school. My family was still back in Houston, and my wife was. I called the space center. They couldn't find the science project, so I got a phone in I got a call in my spacesuit. Where was a science project? So I had to explain that. I think that was a one time only that call was ever made to the launch pad. The same one these guys are going to feet on. Now it looks a lot different, but that's probably the closest. I forgot to. I thought I did it. I don't know. I just think they couldn't find them. But I had to give directions on where to find the science project.
Where are the keys? Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, where'd you leave the key? Yeah. So yeah. And hopefully you have your family at home helps take care of a lot of that stuff. So I think it's tougher with people without a family because they're leaving and who's going to take care of it. So we try to help. We actually try to help out people who are single, usually a little bit more than the married people. Who hopefully have a good support structure at home, and if not, we try to help out wherever we can. If someone's single or they need help at home, so we try to take care of those things for each other.
Yeah, I see. Yeah. Okay, another question. So being in space is hard. Also, being prepared to be in space is probably much harder. The selection process and your training, etc. So have you asked yourself, why am I here? I mean, this Hubble is so complicated. I want in Florida at the beach or something like that. So did you just fed up? Oh, I'm tired.
I'm sorry. What's your question? Was I what?
So have you ever?
I think I heard like 2 or 3 different questions there.
Okay, I mean, the selection process and the training is very hard, you know.
Yeah, have
you ever asked the question yourself, why am I here? I mean, this Hubble is so complicated. I want to be in Florida at the beach or something. I mean,
I'd rather be doing something else. Is that?
Yeah, exactly.
No, that didn't happen. I think when I decided I wanted to do something else after 18 years, I left the astronaut office. But while I was there, no, I think as far as like why you're there, I think the only difference between the people who are accepted to be astronauts and those who are not accepted is that the people who are accepted are more fortunate than the ones who are not accepted. There's really nothing magical about us compared to everybody else. There's a lot of great people that want to do it. My astronaut class, I think we had about 6,000 applications. 35 Americans. That was a huge class. Now, I think, I was speaking to one of my friends still in the office. They have about 13,000 applications, I believe, this year. Yeah. And for the American program for NASA, they're going to probably pick about 12 people. If you're one of those 12 people, you've won the lottery. That is, and forever, that's the way I think of it, is that I'm a lottery winner. I won the best lottery ever by getting a chance to be selected as an astronaut. I mean, I have a PhD and a lot of experience and a pilot license and all these other things, but to make me competitive for the job, I mean, there are thousands of people that are competitive. So it's not an easy. The hardest thing about being an astronaut is getting selected in the program. That really is the toughest thing. I got rejected 3 times too.
You too. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, this seems like a common thing. Yeah, among the astronauts, they've been rejected many times, but they keep going. Applying. And
the 4th time I was rejected, I got an interview and I was medically disqualified. I failed the eye exam. And back then they didn't accept any. For now, it's completely different. So anyone listening doesn't have to worry about it. As long as you can as long as you're correctable to 20. But back then it was more complicated, and my vision wasn't very good. I would be fine now, but back 25 years ago when I was applying, it was an issue. So I had to figure out a way to see better. I had to train my eyes and my brain.
Of course,
to see better in order to pass the test. It took me about a year to do that, and then I was eligible again. So yeah, you have a lot of obstacles. That's the toughest thing because there's all different things that can get you when it's that competitive. Luckily, that eyesight is not really an issue anymore, but it was back then.
Yeah. Okay, another student question. If you could take a pet with you, what animal would you want to have with you in space?
I would want to bring a dog. I brought my Snoopy that you see over my shoulder. I brought a Snoopy
Oh.
with me. But I really like, I like dogs. I'm a dog person.
I
So I
see.
bring a dog.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard any weird questions in space and you get scared? Like some
What?
tuck space, you know, some sounds from the space shuttle, and then you get scared. Have you ever heard kind of weird sounds?
No, you hear, I mean, sometimes you hear things as the spacecraft moves, or you'll hear a vibration or something like that. But
Yeah, as
no,
long as
no
you
one
know
was knocking on the door. I didn't get scared of any noises. No.
yeah, as long as you know what it is. So yeah, you don't get
Yeah,
scared,
you know
right?
what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not there.
Okay. So a few months ago, I saw the Mars 2020 Perseverance before it was sent to Kennedy Space Center. So, I mean, for me, it was such an emotional moment to see a spacecraft before it is in space. So you are one of the last people in the world to see the Hubble Space Telescope close up, and which is one of the most amazing telescope, you know, and I mean, it changed the perception of our universe. So what did you feel at that moment? I mean, you stepped back and then you looked at the Hubble and okay, goodbye. And what did you feel at that moment?
Yeah, I never saw it on Earth. I only saw it when, you know, it was launched well before I became an astronaut. I was, when we let the telescope go on its way, I think we were all, it was at the end of the mission, and it was 5 spacewalks. We weren't sure if we were going to be able to do everything. We had some challenges, but it all worked out. So I think we were really grateful. I was kind of sad, I think, maybe in some ways, that the mission was coming to an end, but I think I was really happy that we, as a crew, did a great job, and I wouldn't want to change that outcome. So I was very happy that we were able to get the Hubble working again. I'm
sure. Yeah. It is still working, and it will probably be working in the next, I don't know, maybe 5-10 more years. And
I don't know. We weren't really expecting it to last this long. It's been up for 30.
Yeah, it's been 30.
They were hoping for 15. And it's been 11 years since we serviced it the last time. So it's been on its own for 11 years and still working.
Well, JWST is delayed.
What they thought it could do.
Yeah, JWST is delayed. So, I mean, they are not equivalent, but
but they're not tied. Even though once they launch James Webb, they'll still use Hubble.
Of course. Of course. So it seems like as long as it works, it will be continued.
Yeah, as long as it works, as long as they can keep it going, they'll use it. Absolutely.
Yeah, so you fixed it well. Thank you.
You did our best.
So my last question. So I know many students want to be an astronaut, and we still don't have our first Turkish astronaut.
Oh man.
Yeah. Seriously. So can you give some advice to the Turkish students? I mean, what are some of the most important characteristics of an astronaut? I wish to be an astronaut, but it's too late for me maybe now.
Well, I think first of all, with all these, especially with this commercial crew, the United Arab Emirates had their first astronauts going to space, and I think there's going to be more and more opportunities now. I mean, before a country needed to build up a lot of infrastructure, but now with these commercial opportunities, you need to pay. It's not going to be cheap. But for a government, it's probably something that they can afford to send their people into space, and I think it's a great thing. The more governments that can participate in that, I think it's going to be great for these countries. So I think Turkey soon, I didn't even realize that they've never had an astronaut. I'm kind of surprised by that. So
I never had an astronaut. Yeah.
I think that what you find, no matter where the astronauts are from, whether they're from United Arab Emirates, although I've never met those guys, but class, I worked with a lot of cosmonauts, of course. We had astronauts from everywhere, from Brazil, from Israel, from everywhere. You have that common bond of wanting to fly in space and wanting to work together. And no matter what country you're from, you work together. So I never had a problem with an astronaut from any country, and that's because we keep teamwork in mind. So I think whatever you're interested in, it's still, I think for a while, it's going to be, but you need some sort of technical education, some interest, whatever it might be. But I've flown in space with astronomers and physicists and with engineers and with test pilots. But I've also flown in space with a geologist and an oceanographer and a veterinarian. Megan MacArthur, whose husband Bob is on this flight. She's an oceanographer. So there's lots of different, anything you like in science or math or engineering is going to be okay to make you qualified. And then I think what you should work on is trying to be a good team player. And for some people, I think that comes more naturally. But I think it's important for anyone who wants to be an astronaut, because you're going to have to work with all kinds of people who are from around the world, people who have different interests. You all have to be able to work together. So putting the team first is really important.
Of course. Okay, thank you very much for taking time.
Okay.
I'm really glad to have a talk to you. Thanks a
All
lot.
right. Well, thanks for your interest. Hello, everyone in Turkey.
So,
I've never been to Turkey.